I'll tell y'all what, bro. They don't want me to be great. So initially, y'all seen this video. For whatever reason, it didn't have any audio, bro. Like, I had y'all hooked and covered, talking about all four, obviously, the SEC programs. I don't know what the hell happened, bro, to be honest with y'all. But I'm going to have to redo this vid and go back through it again, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? But y'all was blowing up this video on TikTok, man. So I'm back with more. I don't know how well this one's going to do, but I did want to talk about all the SEC programs I will be covering this season. In addition to Florida, I will be covering Florida. I don't write for them, but I do write for Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia. You know what I'm saying? All that good stuff. So let's go through some of these game times that were announced today. But yeah, as y'all know, this is the start of a new era for Tennessee, right? Will it be Joey Aguilar, right? Will it be Georgia McIntyre or Jake Mertlinger, right? Obviously, they got to go through that whole process over the summer and into the fall camp to see who emerges. And in Syracuse, Fran Brown, you had a really productive season, 10-plus win season. This past year, you have a new quarterback at the helm, Steve Angeli, who should win, obviously, the starting role. Lost a couple pieces, but how will your team look this year? Can they have another really good season under head coach Fran Brown? Will the ACC continue to be competitive, right? Big questions there. And then, like I said, with the Volunteers, you're coming off a really good year. You know, Paul Feinbaum doesn't think you guys are doing well. The whole QB situation, he's been torching. But nonetheless, if you're Tennessee, bro, this is a great way to put the doubt in anybody's mind, basically, to dead. You know what I'm saying? You can come out and send a statement that you still one of the teams to beat in the SEC, and you're going to have something to say in the college football playoff rankings this year. Next up, they're going to obviously play up against East Tennessee State. Home game, like I said, I don't really take too much to that one, man. Humbly, East Tennessee State is not a bad program, but they're not going to match up with Tennessee, bro. Just respectfully, I don't see them losing that one at home. If they did, that'd be anything short of a disaster. Next up, obviously, you got the big one, which is Georgia Tennessee. So that should be a marquee matchup. They played last year. They played last year November 16th. This year they're playing so early, week 3 of the season. But like I said, for Tennessee, that's going to be another really good test to see where you at. Now, some people have been slighting Georgia because they don't think they have the same talent. I disagree. But if you're Tennessee, you can send a statement 3:30 on ABC to show how for real and how serious you are this year, beating a really good team, beating the SEC champion from 2024 in the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, next up, we got the Florida Gators. Again, a team I told y'all that I cover. I'm going to be covering all year on my channel, doing recaps, games, things like that. Not writing per se, but just video content. But they're going to start the season against LIU, which will be obviously interesting. ESPN Plus, SEC Plus Network. You know, they should be fine there. USF, they should be able to win that one as well on SEC Network. The game, though, to watch, though, is that primetime game. And that September 13th thing is crazy. It's going to be Wisconsin versus Bama. You got Georgia, Tennessee, and then you're going to also have Florida at LSU. That's a hell of a schedule for that week of college football, and that's going to be some must-see TV. But, yeah, going to Death Valley, what better statement do you want to send than that, right? LSU has been talking about how they want to take that next step forward. Big year for Brian Kelly. Garrett Nussmeier comes back another year. They obviously have a great running back at the helm as well. Can you take that step forward if you LSU? What better way to show that you're back with the Gators than going in there, beating Death Valley, and whooping up on, obviously, the Tigers? That's going to be a hell of a game. And then last but not least, obviously, they're going to play Georgia on ABC, similar to what they're going to play against LSU in the 3:30 window. And again, that one is not going to be in Jacksonville because all the renovations and stuff. That one's going to be at a neutral site, I believe, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, unless I'm wrong. But that'll be an interesting one to watch as well. All right, next up, let's talk about South Carolina. So the first game was already announced with Virginia Tech, obviously, 3 p.m. kickoff. You South Carolina, what did they struggle with? What my favorite team struggles with? Always the slow starts, right? Can you start off the season right? Can you start off the season, on fire? That's going to be obviously a big question there to see, kind of what happens. Can they start and send a statement to Virginia Tech, a team that had a lot of lofty expectations last year, obviously had the great pass rusher, Bashal Tootin, who's obviously in the NFL now, and Kyron Drones. Kind of, a down year for Kyron. This is it for him pretty much. So can he be the one to help Virginia Tech get back into that relevancy? If you're South Carolina, build on what you've already built on. Having a great year. Can you take that next step forward is the biggest question. And you start off by starting your season right. And you have the opportunity to. That one's on ESPN. You play South Carolina State on ESPN+. Look, bro, handle your business. You should be able to beat South Carolina State with ease. You know what I'm saying? And then week 3, you play up against Vanderbilt. Now, this ain't the old Vanderbilt from years past. They're going to have Diego Pape for one last year. This is a team that's brewing with confidence. Now, South Carolina should still be able to handle business and do what they do against, obviously, Vanderbilt. But this ain't the same slouch team we've seen in years past. Vanderbilt's going to be competitive. Vanderbilt's going to make this a game. But if you're South Carolina, handle your business and beat them either on ESPN or SEC Network and do your thing. All right, last but not least is the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, look, we already talked about some of the games. The Florida game, obviously, on November 1st. The Georgia Tech game, which they're going to play, obviously, November 28th on a Friday at 3:30 p.m. in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then we obviously have to go to the big boy, obviously, talking about the game against Tennessee, right? So that's kind of like how their slate and their schedule looks. But to open up the season, they're going to play, obviously, against Marshall at Dooley Field in Sanford Stadium, 3:30. Should be able to win that on ESPN. And then they're going to obviously play Austin, PA, ESPN Plus, SEC Network Plus. But again, those are just fine-up, tune-up type of games. You know what I'm saying? Just starting out, you know what I'm saying? Georgia just buckling the chin strap, getting ready, iron out the kinks. They should be able to handle those two opponents, obviously, to start the season. The nitty-gritty is week 3 when they play Tennessee, and then from that point forward. But early on, Georgia should be fine, work out the kinks. Gunnar Stockton getting comfortable, getting camaraderie with his receivers and his weapons. Defense should be able to play at a high level. All that'll be very interesting to see, to say the least. But they should be able to handle their business. So, yeah, y'all, that's my thoughts, man. That's my reaction. Like I said, they didn't want me to be great, but that is my full reaction video to the game dates being scheduled, or the game dates being announced.